Where am I looking? Found it.
Where's the camera? I should have had cameras around the room every time we start, just to make it even harder to work out. Just like, we've only got one feed, but
I might take a little video because I always love that angle that I see on TikTok podcasts, and there's like a camera coming in. I don't know, it just looks really cool.
you get that side shot.
Yeah.
It's quite funny actually. I'd love to have a multicam setup.
Yeah, that's what they've obviously got, haven't they? Because the camera angle, the one that's shared, is clearly not the main camera because it's not even that good of an angle. It's just
The audacity some people have though. Like I've seen some people do like a review on like fast food or whatever, and they've got about 4 cameras that they switch in between, and it's just them on their own, and it's like that's just overproduction. More for them, like, you know, if you want to go do all that work, it's just like quite the production for someone that's just having a mukbang. We still need to do a mukbang. Hey guys,
straight in with the conversation.
straight in.
What's a mukbang then? Before we get into the topic,
Mukbang is it's Korean. It's where you eat a load of food and you chat.
Oh, very cool. That sounds right up my street. I'm more than down for loads of food and talking.
Me too.
That's like daily in our house.
We love food.
Certainly do.
Hey guys in the chat.
Hello, everybody.
Alexia and Malias. And then we've got Mark as well.
Yay.
Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for joining us. If you're new here, if you're old friends of ours, don't forget to like this video.
Yes, indeed. And we are back for part 2 of a very special podcast covering what we do best.
Yeah, we started last week, right, doing the frequently asked questions that we get. We realised this summer that we probably asked about 5 questions that constantly get asked, and if we're answering these to these few people, how many more people need to know the answer to these questions?
Totally.
Not only that, since doing last week's episode, we've had some emails from people that also want to know some stuff. So that's what we're here for, right? That was the goal for this.
Yeah, totally. 8 years of people waiting to be assessed, to even access support, and quite often that support's not even tailored to them. It's kind of like, oh, here's some medication and maybe a therapy session once a month if you're lucky.
There's that trial and error of like, we'll do the mood journal and the sleep journal and try some antidepressants, and it can take ages before you can even get that assessment. Then waiting for that assessment once you've been referred, that's when you're looking for your potential 8 years right now, which I'm hoping this Labour government shortens.
Yeah, see.
We will see.
Um
Well, Mark says I can't stay, I have to go to an emergency room. Oh,
sorry to hear that, mate.
I wanted to ask if ADHD rage was a thing. Oh, yes, Mark.
Well, funnily enough, hello Peter, hello Jade.
Hi, guys.
We said just before the show, didn't we, that we needed to make sure we covered meltdowns today.
Yes.
And how do meltdowns look in adults, and do adults have meltdowns? Which the answer is yes. And how they look is often as a big, huge fit of rage. So, and often that's how they feel, actually, isn't it?
I feel like an absolute monster when I'm having my meltdowns and I'm just raging. And it's hard because, like I say about rage, you kind of feed into yourself and it gives you this like adrenaline and it's hard to stop. It's like a train that just cannot come to an immediate stop, and it becomes difficult.
And there's a lot to do with ADHD all tied in there, actually, isn't there? Because there's this, we're always dopamine seeking. So, like you say, it feels good to start raging. And then do you find that the all or nothing thing, like if I start raging about one thing, suddenly I'm raging about 20 unrelated things that perhaps I've not really processed or dealt with, or I've pushed to the back of my mind all through the week, and then I'm dealing with it all in one go.
You're like, oh, I'm just going to let it out just to let a bit out, and you just can't, right? All the stuff starts piling, the door just opens, you get trampled by your own door, and literally everything just comes spewing out, and it's like, F this, I've never cared about this person, and that woman's dog, if she doesn't shut, it becomes everything.
Yeah.
And I always do that. It's frustration, right? It's this build up of so much masking throughout your day.
Yeah.
Trying to be patient because you maybe see patterns that other people don't. Maybe you're trying to be less abrupt when you speak from logic rather than emotion.
Yeah. I mean, we've had an email that's asking about that as well, haven't we? So
Ties in completely.
this is the thing, it all kind of ties in together. Like, and the other thing is that anger is always a secondary emotion.
Yes.
So like Steph mentioned, it's usually covering loads of other things, like you're masking, you're exhausted, your sensory processing. There's so many other things that are tying into that, and the rage is just that letting go of all of it.
Definitely. So is it normal? 100%. Is it okay to do that? Who's in your vicinity?
That's what I was just going to say. It's okay
Who's
to have
around you?
emotions, but it's
100%.
doing it safely, isn't it?
Having them safely, and also, I'm all for apologising once the thing's open and just holding your hands up and saying, I blew my lid a bit there.
Yeah.
This is why. I'm very sorry. Or even just thank you for being patient with me during that time. Not all the time are you faced with someone arguing when you're raging. Sometimes people are very supportive, and it's just about going back to that person and being like, I'm calm now. This is how I actually view things.
Also, though, you can rage, can't you, without attacking somebody? Because this is another conversation that we've just had, that in the past, in my relationships, I'm getting attacked by somebody that's having this rage. I understand they're having a meltdown. I understand why they're angry, but then being like malicious and putting that, like projecting that anger onto somebody is different to just being angry and having a meltdown.
So how are you managing this anger? What are we doing with it?
Emotional dysregulation is rough and it's real, but there's loads out there to help. I think Jade hit the nail on the head there, because
most definitely
there's that dysregulation going on, isn't there, where trying to process those emotions, that's definitely something that we struggle with. But
processing our sensory inputs as well. We don't realize what could be adding to the stressors that just, it's like other thing that's put in the closet that's going to make it just bust open.
I thought there was a diagram in here, but it's actually in the basic 5 senses one, which we're going to cover next week, where I was explaining it to my granddad like this the other day, that people without processing issues have like kind of an umbrella and a shield and things to bat all of this information away, whereas we're just soaking it all up and we're not necessarily able to kind of switch off from that and switch off from this.
We don't filter stuff, right? We just take it all. It's like you could sip the water or you could just shove it in my face, and somehow I choose that type of input.
It's like that big wave coming in.
The ice bucket challenge, that's kind of how I get.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully by the end of the podcast we'll have got round to some coping tactics. We're going to cover the final few of the questions that we didn't get round to last week. I ran through that list of things last week, like emotional dysregulation and what do those things mean. So I'm going to go through those, and then some coping tactics at the end.
Yes, and then a Patreon prize draw. It's a fun one.
It's actually a prize draw from the guys that got involved with the voting.
Oh, very good.
So I asked people on my social media to vote for which front cover for next year's A Different Resolution guide.
Very cool.
And everybody that voted is now in a prize draw to win a copy of it as soon as it's ready, which should be in the next week or so. So
that's really fun.
Now that we know what cover it's going to be. But
2025.
I'll announce that in a bit.
All get on board. It's going to be a good year. We're all going to be successful. But so, and also rage is a great topic for itself. Highlighting topics like this that are important to you means that we can craft a whole episode on it in the near future.
I'm going to make a note of that.
Let's make a list now. We're on it. We're pronto. Actually been quite organised today. It's been no rush.
Jinx it.
I am jinxing it. Can you hear me? Is the audio on?
We realise now that whole time it wasn't live.
I think that'd be me quitting.
Yeah.
That'd be me rage quitting, actually. You'd see Steph throw everything.
That's it. I've had enough. Right, let's start then with the final few questions and things that we've got on there. In fact, do you want to do the intro bins? I think last week you forgot, and then we're a bit...
I didn't do the intro or the outro. I've just been ignoring all of that. So yeah, you're totally right. Let's have an intro.
See you on the other side.
Wait.
Why? Why is it like this? Instead of haters should be loved, we invited. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why? Why is it like this? Instead of haters should be loved, we invited. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous.
Did I end that too early? Righteous, right.
No echoes today.
Let me
hello.
take you to React Cam. It's a fun little cam.
Oh my God, Alexi, that is such a good point. So
What do you
she's
think?
just saying that whenever she tells people, I am autistic, she's immediately treated like an infant. That is a really, really
Interesting.
common experience of people that are autistic, ADHD, like, and it's quite frustrating actually, because even I've noticed it within my kind of circle. I'll notice like family members treating certain people like they're not quite capable of, like they're not a full adult. And it's really strange actually, because I suppose one of the things I love about being ADHD and autistic is I do feel really young at heart and like free spirited and stuff like that. But then that can lead people to then kind of like, I don't know, talk to you almost like you don't quite understand, or you're not there yet when it comes to being a full adult.
It's hard, isn't it? Because it's like I love. I'm with you right there. I am childish to the bone. I love being silly. I love feeling young at heart.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I am an adult who's had experiences,
And
and I'd
you run
like
your
to
own
be.
house, you've got a job, I'm independent, I can cook for myself, I clean, like.
Do you know what? I don't know if it goes to just being telling people that I'm autistic, but till about the age of 27, people would knock on the door and say, "Is your mum home?" And I'd be like, "Nope."
Bye.
I moved
I'm
out
here all alone.
over 10 years ago. And it happened. I understood when I first moved out that that's what people would ask. But it just became a very like, I'm almost 30 at this point. And
Yeah.
people are still, it's just crazy.
It's Alexa just elaborated a little bit as well, saying that when she told her school, they took her from top set and moved her into bottom set because they thought she needed more attention, when actually she was doing really well academically in that subject. And I think that highlights this lack of understanding. I think it's me and Steph always think, oh, are we just like broken records talking about these topics over and over and everybody gets it now? But they don't, do they? It's like it's not covered in the teacher training. I think as standard they have about half a day. And then the understanding of what autism actually presents and looks like is very stereotypical.
There's so many TikToks on it, but somehow the NHS, the schools, people that are actually there to help you just ignore all of it. And yeah, for me to move you out of a class dependent on your diagnosis rather than your actual ability and what you're struggling with. Like, I'd understand if you were struggling and they found out that you were struggling because you have autism and therefore we've put you in a class that can accommodate you more. Clearly you're saying that's not what's happened.
That's a perfect example of them not doing the people-centered approach or person-centered approach that they're supposed to, where instead of making decisions for you, they're meant to say, what can we do that would be helpful? And you don't always know, and that's fine to then work with the person to work out what it is that can be helpful. But the first thing you should be doing is, what can we do to make this experience more supportive? Are you in the right classes? Is there something more that we can do for you? And I think that highlights that there's still a lot of issues there.
100%. Sorry you're experiencing that, Alexi.
Yeah, and Jade's saying as well, over the years as well, speaking to Shauna like a baby.
Yeah, I think disability have experienced it. The disability community have experienced this for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Even from like dwarfism, people coming down to their level and like, into their faces. Like, I can't.
Well, Jade's just said, just mirror it back to them. If they talk you, that's quite a good one. Like if they say, is there anything we can do? Be like, no, I'm absolutely fine. That might then, because this is the thing. I think people often have the best intentions. I don't think people mean to condescend or mean to offend. 9 times out of 10, I think people have got a genuinely want to do the best thing, perhaps don't realize they're doing it. But even I've been guilty of doing it with my young people sometimes. I'll realize I'm talking to them. Like there's a young person that we share contact with,
Right, yeah.
and sometimes I realize I think I'm talking to him a little bit like he's a child, and he's not. He's a young man, and I need to, watch myself. So
It can be when their needs aren't equating to the idea of what someone should be at that age or
yeah,
at that
yeah.
point of their life. And especially when you are a carer, that caring, it's so easy. I mean, who knows a friend of theirs that's a girlfriend that also very much acts like a mum to their partner?
Oh God,
It's,
drives me mad.
it's just people, I don't need to say anymore, do I?
Jade's saying as well, the older generation tends to be worse. I think there is that. Again, it's a lack of understanding. Like when you say, "Oh, I'm autistic," and people go, "Oh," like you're like, "Oh no, it's fine." Like,
Oh, no, you're not. As if you're so.
yeah, and it's like you feel like saying, "No, I'd rather be autistic than typical." Like, your experience sounds horrendous. um, and then Meliz, I have learning difficulties, but I do really well academically. But nobody sees that; they assume I'm stupid. And that's the thing, isn't it? You just learn differently. It doesn't mean you can't learn. Again, my students
Yeah.
will come in the classroom. Oh, I can't read, miss, because I'm dyslexic, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You're going to be able to read, mate. It's just that you've been let down so far with the way that they've tried to teach you.
Isn't that amazing, the two like contrasts though? You've got one student here that's like, look, I struggle with learning. I will learn in a
Openly.
different way. But look, I can do it. And then you've got other people that are like,
They've
I
been
can't
told,
do it.
been told they can't do it until they believe it.
Exactly.
Shout out True Vibes Clothing. She is indeed rocking your tea, and I was last week. I had the self-care one on last week, so
This was my birthday present from Lynn's.
I love it. I do love it.
It's so good.
I
Out here killing it.
and it out here killing it, mate. Okay, so my child, is it the child that won't be assessed for 8 years? Did we speak about that last week, or it was the meltdown, wasn't it? Or was it to do with?
No, I think, do I need a diagnosis?
We did that, yeah.
that. My child won't be assessed for 8 years. I'm worried they won't get the support they need during crucial
Okay.
developmental years. What should I do?
Parental guilt, something we deal with loads. Like, I'm not doing enough. What more can I do?
I
kind
thought
of
you were
thing.
saying that's what they should do. Get some parental guilt in
Oh
your
no,
system.
I mean that we're quite often like, firstly, don't feel guilty. You're doing the best that you can do. Like,
I feel like that's a natural part of all parenting. Right?
yeah, absolutely. And what should I do? I mean, asking that question straight away, looking for the advice on the internet, talking to people, that is a great place to start, because
Proactive.
yeah, ADHD, although there's lots of things that unite us, such as, not being able to pick what we attend to. So, if you're asking us to do chores, we're going to find a million other things that we'd rather do and a million excuses, and then might have a tantrum and, might trash the house and it might get completely out of control. So there is things that unite us, but the person is still individual, isn't there? So a thing that works for one person isn't always going to work
Right,
for
definitely.
another. Yeah. So is there anything that you would say? Obviously start with asking questions, doing the research.
Yeah. Literally arm yourself with that information. We know that there's obviously places like the NHS that you can go to for support. You've already been there. Let's just assume you won't be assessed for 8 years. You've spoke to your doctors.
Get the booklets from our site. There's free copies. There's free to download versions, or there's the physical copies. But working through them together, like getting to know your child and yourself at the same time.
They're fantastic. Literally, we said about them last week. They fill this gap in care. There was a tagline that we came up with. I was so excited about it, and I've forgot it again now. Guiding you where society falls short, because literally all we're hearing is the most sad, heartbreaking stories about how children are not being assessed. Adults are not getting the support they need, and this is impacting their school, their careers, their relationships. These books will cost you absolutely barely anything or nothing if you'd like to download them for free, because we make them accessible for everyone. And in them is so much information. It goes through, it's not just nuance, it is like all different types. It gives you girls get ADHD too, change the perspective. there's ADHD today, the fuller picture, all these little things, and they're put in a way that's actually interesting and appealing. I can't get through it enough that these are sort of things that you can work through with your kids, that you can arm yourself. If you've got information, then every time you go to the doctors and you feel like you're being told something that's fobbing you off or making you wait even longer so that they can just put you back onto the waiting list, you'll have this information.
It's definitely for me about opening those communication channels, because I home tutor as well, and so I'm brought in quite a lot to find out what the problem is with my child. You know, they're anxious or they're angry is usually the two big ones. And like, one of the hardest things to tell a parent is you're on your phone too much. Like, the kids desperately trying to tell you about their day
Yeah.
at school, and you're locked into Facebook and stuff like that. So I think make those, and obviously that's a blanket statement, but make times in the day where you really connect without any screen time. But I mean, on the other
That's a
hand,
wicked thing.
sometimes you've got parents that are, they're desperately trying to make conversation with the kids. Oh, what did you do today? And they're like, I can't remember. You know, that's a really common thing with ADHD and dyslexia. They can't remember. What
It
did you
can
have for lunch?
also
Can't
be
remember.
when you're talking to neurodivergent kids, autism. It becomes a bit of a like, did you have a good day today? It's a bit of a one-worded answer.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing you did today?
Yeah.
What was something that made you confused today?
Yeah.
Using these things that kind of make more of a specific, or if you know they're friends, what did this happen? Going on to like, did you do maths? Did you eat your lunch? Did you? It's just a
Yeah, yes or no.
they can just go, yeah.
The other thing, because I had a young lad that I used to try those different questioning tactics with, and I think his PDA then came into play because
Exactly.
it was a bit more, it was too much of a demand him having to, so playing games, like, we'd just have a good old giggle together. And I noticed I was sitting in my garden the other day and I was just writing, and a couple of gardens down, there was a guy like running a paddling pool for his kid, and the kid was obviously getting really excited about it, and the guy was just being really short-tempered and shouting at him. And I get it, adulthood is so stressful, kids are stressful, you've got all these worries, but I think stripping it back and just having a laugh together, just being daft. Like today, even I was playing, well, I was actually doing work with this student, and he kept losing a bit of like concentration and attention, and he's all over the place. But then I started teasing him or whatever, and I'm making a joke about this thing that he was trying to do, and we ended up really like laughing about stuff. And that bonding, like, there's so many pressures all around us with school and with work and all the rest of it. I think trying to build that connection.
Definitely. And we know from the brain and memory, the memories that we have are ones that are scary, unfortunately. They engrave into our brains more. And the other side is funny. When something really makes us laugh, that sticks in your memory. And that's such a good, like, you can go home after that, or that student can go home and be like, that was a funny experience. And they can share it with their mate. Oh, this happened to me. It was hilarious. Sometimes you're trying to explain it, and that person is not laughing. You're like, oh, you don't get it.
It's quite often, though, isn't it, that your experience as a neurodivergent individual is negative, negative, negative. You've been at school being the child's been being told off, they've not done that right, they've not done that right. So to just provide some positive experiences, and even giving kids tasks that they can complete to build that feeling of independence and create a feeling of self-esteem. That's so important as well. Like, some of the work that I do with my students is like way too easy for their level, but for me it's about showing them that they can do something and reducing the fear of doing something that they're going to fail at. So some places to start there, like, have some fun, create opportunities to have a laugh, give them little responsibilities to build independence, but things they definitely can do, don't set them up for failure. But also just conversations, like finding out, can they tie their own shoelaces, can they tell the time? There's little skills like that if you've not got them, you just feel not really equipped. So if you can help fill those gaps, that can be really helpful as well.
I feel like your kid is going to go through different patterns that you need to basically document. Another way of supporting yourself when you go to doctors is making charts of literally how your child's day goes. So not just the bad moments, good moments as well. When it comes to being assessed, then you can give all this information. And I've actually been talking to company that I'm hoping that we'll get to speak to at some point. Let me try and find their. They are developing an app where you jog this information, kind of like we've got the menstrual cycle
Oh,
apps,
yeah.
right? But this one is for collecting data around your kids' moods, behavior, sleep.
That is the other thing, that ADHD people are very much cycle kind of people. It's like we have good weeks and bad weeks, and it's almost we go through these cycles of it being worse at times, and sometimes there's a reason behind it, and sometimes it's just part of our flow. And I think getting to know your own flow is really important. Just nip into the chat just quickly.
Go for it.
So forgetfulness, a symptom of dyslexia? Absolutely, yes. And this is where we've got this crossover between dyslexia and ADHD, dyspraxia, because forgetfulness is prolific in all of them. Yeah, you might find problems with getting things in order, like even getting dressed. Sometimes I look down and I'm like, why have I put them clothes on before these
my God.
clothes and stuff like that? So yeah,
I'd have
forgetfulness.
pajamas on underneath my school trousers when I'm getting changed for PE. Like, oops.
God, once I was sat at my friend's house and we was chatting away, and I was like, fidgeting as I always do, and I felt this lump in my trousers, and it was my pair of pants from the day before. Like they got caught in the
love
leg
that.
of the trousers. Like,
That's
oh,
hilarious.
oh, and the husband could not stop laughing. Because I was just like, oh my God, look. Yeah, sorry about that. We've got Alexis saying that she had a teacher who said that she wasn't autistic, and that it was just you being shy. That is so frustrating, because and she's been homeschooled now, which is so much better, because this is the thing, like my mum was always painfully shy, and my brother too, and to the point as well where my mum used to say it should be classed as a disability because you want to do these things but you cannot bring yourself to do it. Now we understand that my brother and my mum are on the autism spectrum in those areas of the social awkwardness and the living in your head kind of thing, and those aspects, and you think she was right all along. Her shyness was a disability.
It's really
Is a disability.
It's a real struggle, and I think a lot of parents, it's not just a neurodivergent thing here. We see very early on, we're so quick to label this shy that it almost from the get-go stops that connection building.
Yeah.
So it's very much encouraged. Say you were to take your kid to a play area and you can see that your kid wants to start talking to another kid, or they start telling you, like, or maybe they're being disruptive in a way that you can tell they want to make friends. Ask them, how would you like to make friends with this person? What do you think they like doing?
Can I help?
Sometimes they will just say, I just want to play with them. And this is a non-verbal communication. It's not like adults where we need to be like, blah, blah, and talk each other's heads off. Sometimes it's just, I just want to play with you.
Connect him.
Yeah. And instead of being like, standing there and being like, say hello to someone, are you going to say hello?
Yeah, that can be so embarrassing, can't it?
It stops this child. When a child's growing, when we're growing, our brain is forming all these connections, and you're stumping that connection right there by going, I'm sorry, she's ever so shy. You're stopping it. Let these kids interact. It can be so beautiful, because sometimes I've seen this so many times where kids, I want to go and play with her. Well, go and play with her then. Well, what do you think I should do? Oh, maybe I should bring her a snack. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
We've come to the park with a picnic. Why don't you take her some apple slices?
Yeah.
And then they'll just sort of walk past them. And it's like they want to interact so much, and they're in that vicinity, and it must be so hard as a parent to look at them and go, look, you just have to, but you're putting your adult lens onto it.
Yeah.
Let these kids discover how you connect. Because how many times as an adult have you been like, I need to get their attention, but I can't just go straight to them. I have to make you say, oh, it just happened to be in the same, oh, I'm glad I caught you. We do it as adults, right?
Well, even like we've just done a training course at work reminding us that communication is only about 10% words. The rest of it is those little eye contacts, gestures, body language. If you allow yourself, you do actually pick up on all of these signs. So it's especially young children, they're still in touch with those things and they're learning, so it's like kind of give them the space.
It's how parents of non-verbal kids can communicate with
them. Absolutely.
Jade, I'm sure you know exactly what Shana's thinking, what she's trying to get through to you all the time.
Well, Jade's mentioned trial and error, and I think that is a wicked point to make, that it's okay to get it wrong. What you're showing your kid is that you care enough, that you're trying to help them. And it's like,
God, yeah.
and they don't know. I mean, in this book, Peter's saying about trying to make the book a bit more detailed so we can actually see what we're talking about. But you can download it for free off the site, the digital copy. But in this book, there's a whole list of adjustments, reasonable adjustments that can be made in school, and they can be altered to show, you know, to be made in the in workplace as well. But that's the point of that list, is that you don't always know, even with work and even as an adult, what you actually need. It might be to have a big clock on the wall so you can see the time. It might be to have alarms and post-it notes and everything written down. But for some people, that's a nightmare, you know, and everyone's not the same. So it's like, just don't make the assumptions, but do suggest things, try them out, you know, give it a couple of weeks, see how it goes, like open that opportunity. A different guide, yeah, so that's for the physical copy. You can get them on off our site, add it to the cart, or you can order them from Amazon as well. I love that Shauna's too smart for words. That's the thing, isn't it? It's like we definitely see it as like an intelligence measurement is our vocabulary, but actually, when I watch those mini documentaries on autism that time, I can't remember, by Chris Peckham, something like that. Is it
Chris Peckham? Yeah, the
there was these through
wildlife dude.
there was these through
Peckham.
there was these through my eyes ADHD, like 20-minute films that were on the
BBC.
yeah,
I do remember.
and there was a lad that was non-verbal on that, and it was such an eye-opener, A, to how he was treated because he was non-verbal, but B, what his experiences were of that just because I can't communicate doesn't mean that I've not got a brain that's just as capable and that I'm not thinking all these things. So
Can you imagine hearing people talk about you like you weren't there, or like you couldn't hear them? Like,
that frustrates me. Don't, even with young kids, please try and don't talk about them as though they're not there. They are listening and they are taking it all in, and it's
little sponges just walking around.
It's just really condescending.
Waiting to repeat you as well.
Yeah. But it's just like, you know, involve them in the conversation, even if you feel like, oh, they're too young to understand. Well, you don't know that, so.
Yeah, if they're asking about something, then they're definitely not too old to have a conversation about it. But also, you tailor it.
Yeah,
you know, to their age range.
So your app, sorry, you were going to show us this.
Oh, yeah. And again, not my app. Send Life. I found this on Instagram. Behavior tracking, insight reports, document management, carer communication, expert coaching, and workshops. All through this, basically, it's an app that collects your
That is a really, because sometimes, like, by the time the doctor goes, so give me some examples. Like, I can't think of any. You know, like my brain goes blank when I'm put on the spot.
I'm exactly the same. And then I'm also advocating for myself. I can't imagine how much more like confusing it is when you're trying to relay your child's thing, because you say like, oh, how well does the child sleep? Well, sometimes really well, but sometimes not well. But with these charts, you can actually like give the full picture. Yeah, and like I said, it's not just the negative things that you're including in it. Right now, they are going through like the beta trial version. So anyone that even just wants to go and have a go, you're helping them right now.
Oh, cool.
That's
cool to know. Alexi, monotone flat voice is an autistic trait. Yeah.
I thought you were yelling at Alexa, like, Alexa, do something for me. Alexa.
Yeah, sorry, I just noticed that another question in the chat about having that flat voice, and it can come off as you being blunt, or that you're not putting enough expression in what you're saying. I've heard people say that before, like, oh, you need to make your voice more for people to engage with you and stuff. But again, that's where masking then ends up coming into play. So we don't need to do any of these things. But yeah, it is an autistic trait. I think they describe it as like a robotic voice.
It's hard, isn't it? Because you have one camp that are like, we just want you to fit into society, and there's the other side that's like, you're just following this unhealthy standards of society. These aren't real. These aren't actually helpful for anyone. And trying to get that through to people. I saw a video that was like, it was a blind girl whose eyes move while she talks, and she's basically,
Yeah.
did you see that, where she's like,
They
some
told
people
her to
tell me
put
to wear glasses.
Yeah.
Did you see the comment?
Yeah.
A-hole number one is like, just saying it as because I care, you do look better with glasses on. It's just to help you. Your sighted friends are just trying to help
Yeah,
you.
like what?
And I wrote out my response, and Instagram said, "That's not very nice. Are you sure you want to post that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then it deleted it because it went against. It said I was bullying, and I was like, "Then how is his comment there?"
Yeah,
That's
the thing,
bullying.
isn't it? Yeah, big time.
Like, stop with this. Like, you deciding what looks good. You deciding this. Like,
Yeah, what's normal?
yeah. I saw on like Lad Baby's wife. She's looking slimmer in pictures more recently, and someone commented, "You look great, Rox, but don't lose any more weight. You start looking unhealthy." And
You don't know how or why she's losing weight. She might be ill. You know, like yeah, just keep it scum. I got really triggered over that actually. When I stopped drinking last year, I lost a lot of weight quite quickly, and people kept saying like, "Oh, don't lose any more because you're starting to look." I wasn't doing it on purpose. Like this isn't a purposeful thing.
No.
Obviously now everything's balanced back out again, and like
yeah, I don't think
but
people that is a prime example of how society causes eating problems,
yeah,
causes identity problems, like because you're almost gaslit
yeah,
into
yeah.
your own existence of like, oh well,
I shouldn't look like this.
I shouldn't
don't
be
look
this thin.
right.
I shouldn't be this fat. It's
Peter, I've just added relationships to our topics. We've done a
I love that.
podcast on relationships, but it was like quite a while ago, and I feel like we've both developed a lot since then.
I was saying that I had an idea of literally doing a tour with Lindsay's bus of all the different people around the UK that I got into relationships with when I was a kid. Not go and see them, but just go to the places, because my childhood was about finding a dude that was as far away from my home as possible. So I could
Escapist over here.
escape. But within that, there's so many different interesting, like, from young stupid love thinking that that was going to be forever,
Yeah.
right up to like real adult decision makings, you know, including things that I know I did wrong, stuff that you
Yeah.
know, where I was definitely a victim. I feel like it's information that all
Quite a
ties
good road
into me
trip.
being a crazy little bipolar ADHD girl that didn't get the help she needed when she deserved it.
Well, Peter's just saying, like, this is why I stay single, because as soon as I tell a girl I'm autistic, they start treating me extremely differently and like a baby. And I think in the neurodivergent world, it's really hard. I come across a lot of people that are single by choice, and a lot of people that are in toxic relationships. Very rarely do we come across.
It's hard, right? Because I'm attracted to other neurodivergents, but I've also got to hope that they are on their journey of healing.
Yeah.
Generally, they're not, right? Generally, they're more batshit than I am.
Yeah.
It goes out the window, and I spend beginning stand them. They're just misunderstood.
And that's the trouble. And that leads us nicely into meltdowns, because the next thing is, how do I deal with a meltdown? And one of the things with relationships, like I said at the start, is if you're in a relationship with somebody and they're having a meltdown, it's okay to create this safe space for them to do that, as long as it's not detrimental to your safety and your mental health and your physical health.
Number one priority is always yourself. The person that's having the meltdown, yourself. The person that's around the meltdown, still yourself. Allow space for the other person, but generally, if you've got to get out of there, get out of there. It's not your responsibility to calm someone down. However, I understand that if you are a parent, you cannot just go
Get out of there.
That is the situation where you don't come first. But you do in terms of how
You've got to
you
still
support
do
them.
self-care as well.
You still have to have that full cup, that overflowing cup that Sedge talks about.
I think with a meltdown as well, the first thing to do is separate the idea that a meltdown is a kind of tantrum, or that there's a choice, or that it's to do with being spoiled and not getting your own way. It's not quite the same, in the sense that it's more of a response to, it's more of like a fight or flight type thing.
Yeah, and that's where we treat children and adults differently, right? Children, where their brain is still developing, where they may still be a little bit behind in their developmental process.
Yeah.
It's
their behavior's a bit more animalistic.
Yeah, they haven't got the words to understand why they're happening. They haven't got the experience to understand, oh, this is because I don't actually like the taste of this and you're forcing me to do this, or you
even
said this little comment and I've taken it on
Yeah.
so much more than I was supposed to, or whatever the reason is.
Yeah, because with eating, it's quite often a fear factor.
Yeah.
So it's like you might be having this battle over dinner time of like, just try it. But to them, that's a risk to their safety. And it's not just a case
Definitely.
of, that they're being awkward. They are reacting in a survival instinct kind of way.
Another one is in a supermarket. If you've got neurodivergent kids, autistic kids, and I'm sure you've had meltdowns in the supermarket. And again, I don't like it in a supermarket. That's where my earplugs come in handy, because I don't realise how much just all the noises, all the senses, everything is there to get you to buy stuff and be stimulated, and it's too much.
Yeah.
I loved COVID when everyone was staying 2 feet, 5 feet, whatever it was away. But now everyone just stands next to you again or like leans over you, and it's just like, that's where my rage kicks in, where I'm ready to go, get away!
Don't touch me.
And it's just, no, I can't be like that because I'm trying to help other people rage.
How do I deal with meltdowns? Ideally, you kind of want to be in the person's area so they know that they're safe. But, telling somebody to calm down that's having a meltdown isn't going to calm them down.
Never in the history has that ever worked.
No, exactly. So it is almost like a kind of taking on the stance of reassuring. I am here,
I am here if you need me.
Yeah.
Waiting for that whole brain chemistry to just switch.
It's almost like it's got to run its way out.
There's no reasoning. There's no getting through. Like, babe, just look at me. It doesn't work like that. You're just making it worse. And I've been there myself. I've been there recently. It makes it worse.
Yeah.
You can't do it. It's
limit.
Give that space to allow for the brain chemistry to go back from that lizard brain, that triggered brain, back to the normal developed human adult brain that we all have. Calm.
Definitely limit your verbal input, going like da 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 and this and that and the other. And I'm talking even like with parents, with kids. Oh, you're not going to get sweets if you carry on. I'm going to take this off you. You're just you're
Saving Private Ryan. They ain't hearing it.
They're not hearing it.
They're looking for their arm.
It's wasted energy. And I mean, the thing with meltdowns is try and have a game plan in place before they happen. And again, this is where you've got young kids, it's much harder because I've worked with families when we try and do this, sometimes it'll work in the short term and then you have to change the game plan, and it is truly hard. But having that kind of, right, when you get to that stage, what can you do? Can you go out and bounce on your trampoline? Can you go outside and scream at the sky? Can you go to your bedroom and punch the pillow? Sometimes they do need to physically let it out. But trying to then, when they go into meltdown stage, remind them, come on, what's the safety plan? Let's and guide them to their area, wherever that may be.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a lot of parents that singing and dancing as a sort of, not just people think it's like a distraction, but it's not. It engages the brain it engages the left side of the brain, the artistic, creative side. It stops with that logical stuff doesn't make any sense kind of world. It allows them to, so there's a mum that I know sings her son's name to like bring it, and she's got all these different like sings that he now repeats back to her, right? She says the first line, he'll say it back, and what he comes out of crying, and by the end of it he's singing this song with her, sort of thing. And it's just this regulation. It's away from the situation. It's not trying to fix the problem of what's happening. It's removing yourself. And also, if this is happening in public, anyone that's giving you any kind of look of what kind of parent you must be, tune it out. It's nothing to do with them. You're doing the best you can as a mother. If someone has a problem with your child's meltdown, that says way more about them.
Yeah.
Sorry, you disrupted their peace.
It's not to do with discipline and all the rest of it. And hopefully send them to our podcast, get them to watch it. But putting music on, that reminds me, actually, one of the families that I worked with, this young person, he was very, very challenging, like his living in his own head must have been really hard, bless him, because he experienced a lot of trauma as a baby, and that, like, as he was growing up, he was having to go through that. But putting music on when he was having a meltdown sometimes would snap him completely out of it. He'd be like, and he could redirect that energy into having a good old boogie. And
the brain is amazing with
sound. And it's like laughter. I know that once they're in meltdown mode, laughter, like trying to make a joke or whatever, isn't going to be the one. But to as you can sense that meltdown coming, trying to switch it back to humor and just take away the seriousness. Like, is it worth the battle? Picking your battles is such a, you know.
Oh god, yeah. Whether it's your own meltdowns or your child's.
Yeah, the trouble is
what's
as well.
Worth getting any kind of arousal for right now.
Yeah, sometimes it's very much like, what we find is that the parents don't realize that they're autistic and ADHD until they're dealing with their child that is. So the child's having a meltdown because you're putting demands on, but you can't let it go because you've got a bit of PDA as well.
Well, you're having a meltdown.
Yeah. And it's like, sometimes you're watching the parent thinking, you're literally an adult behaving badly. The child doesn't know any better. You're meant to be guiding them, but you're meant to know better, you know. And so it's very much about kind of looking at yourself as well.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So
it's a whole topic, right?
I know, definitely. Shall we go into some of the myths? Is it linked to diet? Is it caused by bad diet? This is something that people say to me so regularly.
These are like the four main ones, right? Obviously, is it just laziness that's becomes it, but like what it's linked to, this idea of where does it come from? Like, what's causing this? Rather than some people just are like this. Like, no one's going, where did brown hair come from? It just doesn't make sense.
People didn't used to have brown hair, and now there's loads of them.
Where do moles come from? Like, it just doesn't matter. So, does it come from diet, Lindsay?
I don't think so, no. And we've looked at lots of studies and things like that, because one of the most common things that people say is, oh, it's since processed foods have come around. Now, processed foods aren't good for anybody's brain or anybody's attention or anybody's mental health. This is the thing. So it's like, exactly. It's like certain foods may well cause traits that look similar to those of ADHD, but the way ADHD is genetic, so your brain is going to be born with the capability of becoming an ADHD brain, and then there's usually a trigger or something, isn't there, that could form that way of wiring to either be, you know, really tricky ADHD or just mild. I don't know.
There's also that idea of giving sugar creates hyperactivity, where sugar causes more energy.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily hyperactivity. These are two very different things.
There was a study about hyperactivity that was published this week that was shared by the ADHD adults, like that kind of forum, and they were saying about they're starting to realize now that women do suffer with hyperactivity just as much. It's just that the way it's measured is different and stuff like that. So watch the space for more developments there.
Trauma.
Yeah, I think trauma is a huge factor in creating. So what you may have like got to grips with is that my ADHD is less of a negative impact on my life, I'd say, than it has been on yours.
Yeah.
But then that comes down to how much trauma you've experienced as a child, and certain experiences can then change your experience of ADHD.
I believe that you already have this predisposition.
Yeah.
A lot of people have for multiple different things. And something like a poor environment, poor genetics, constantly having, I don't know,
domestic violence, things like that can cause the type of trauma that will then cause your brain to wire in a certain way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, eating a certain diet as a kid doesn't break your brain. Trauma, these kinds of experiences do. Bad parenting. So, I feel like that can kind of go into it, right? Mine never came from my parents being horrible parents that abused me. My trauma came from my parents being way too busy and into their own lives to really notice the severity of me. It was just whatever. So, bad parenting, I don't want to class it as that. My parents did the best they could for their generation and with the knowledge they have.
What was that word?
Predisposition.
Yeah, the predisposition was already there. And I think that is something to pick up on, that sometimes what you find in families is they are neurodivergent families. So mum and dad are ADHD and autistic. They've got their own unresolved trauma. So the kid is got the predisposition to be ADHD and autistic. So then the parenting is traumatic
Yeah.
and toxic, or whatever the environment is. Because, and I mean, I work in an industry where I see these cycles just going, they're like endless, and
Yeah.
you're like, how are we going to end this cycle of, you know, unhealthy relationships in the household, relationships with drugs and alcohol, and the kids seeing it, and then the kids growing up to then do exactly the same thing all over again. So
It's about breaking that cycle.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that my mum struggled with was, oh my God, did I make you ADHD? No. No, you didn't. You know,
Alison, no, you made her the best kind of ADHD you
well,
could
that's the thing,
possibly
isn't it?
be.
It's like, actually, I remember, you know, there'd be things like at 9 years old, I was scared to death, scared of death, scared to death, and having panic attacks in the night. Like, we didn't know that's what I was having. We
Yeah.
didn't understand they were panic attacks. And my mum saying things like, oh, you know, think of all the good things, and, you know, giving me all these tactics
Yeah.
and ways to cope. And it's like, now that I've done all my training, I'm like, oh my God, you did that instinctively. So, you know, for all the parents out there that are having guilt, you're doing the best you can, and that's all you can do until you know better, and then you do that,
Yeah.
and until you know better and you do that. So
Just be there. If you're not doing it perfectly, as long as you're there, I really can't complain about it.
no,
Parenting.
exactly.
Genetics. Kind of to blame.
Yeah, I'd say genetics is the most key thing, right?
Out of all of them, they definitely has the weight to it, right?
Something that I really want to make the norm is that when a kid is diagnosed as ADHD, the whole family looks at themselves and works out where that came from, because quite often you have this little kid and the whole family's there and they're like, oh yeah, well he's ADHD in it, and I'm like, yeah, so are you, you know, like, but they've got
This
no
is the house of ADHD.
got-
I've arrived.
got no idea that they are too, and so is Uncle Jimmy, and, you know, blah blah blah. Uncle Jimmy was like doing crack in the shed at the bottom of the garden. It's because it was like undiagnosed ADHD that got him there.
That's just Uncle Jimmy though.
And these poor kids feel like the black sheep, and it's like, actually, you know, connect them with the granddad who's got an obsession with trains and photography and you know, his OCD and all the rest of it. Like, find the other people in the family that are similar, so that these kids don't feel like they're on their own. There's a few bits in the chat that we just need to go back to. Melissa's saying about a green, amber, red system to help with communication that's worked really well between her and her mum, which I think's a really cool idea.
How does that work?
I mean, I've got one in my pencil case, and again with this young boy that I kept referring to, some, like, it doesn't always work because sometimes your brain's too far gone, but you basically have a red, a green, and an amber card or something like along those lines, and you can just leave that card out.
Okay.
You can, like, you know, I am feeling red, and it's a way of you telling that person, or you can say, how are you feeling, you know, and get them to point, because sometimes you can't say how you're feeling, can you? But you might be able to point to a diagram of emotions and communicate through that way. So I think it's worth pointing out that there are loads of tactics, but it's just a case of getting on forums, getting on the internet and finding them, talking to other parents as well.
To know your kid. What is your kid like? What are their specific needs? What are they individually? You know, what can help them?
Yeah. Jade's reiterating that to understand ourselves, that we're more equipped to communicate to others what's happening. Yeah, so as adults, kind of getting to know yourself. And we're breaking the cycle right now by what we do. Thank you very much. That's really good to hear.
Love it.
And then lots of people being really positive about being a parent. So that's really nice as well, isn't it? My daughter is my medicine. That's lovely.
Communication is key. I love that.
Yeah. Is it just laziness as well? That was our final thing on the because sometimes, even being an ADHD person, like, even within, like, our friendship groups, people are saying, oh, I want to do this, and like, just bloody do it then. But it's not always that simple, is it? It's like the paralysis that comes with ADHD.
I'm not saying you've got ADHD, then you cannot be, there's no way you can be lazy. You can definitely be lazy at the same time.
You've got to work out
what someone else's perception of you, when they're saying you're lazy, and you know, hold on, I try harder in life than you do in your week. Like, in one day than you do in a week, sort of thing. And it's about understanding, first being honest with yourself. Am I being lazy?
Yeah.
Is there something really holding me back right now?
do I really want to do it? Because sometimes that's the indicator that you don't really want to do that thing in the first place. So just move on.
And that kind of makes it harder for us to do stuff, right? Like we're really good if it's novel, if it's new.
Yeah.
Um,
I keep diaries. I don't write them every day, but I reread them sometimes. So it's like I'll have a diary that's running over a 10-year period, and it's like I'll have different entries, and it's quite nice to reflect. At one point, I went through this one diary, and it was like every single year for 10 years running, my resolutions were to give up smoking and lose weight. Why was I putting those pressures on myself? I knew I wasn't going to do it. I had my lifestyle, and I was kind of like I wasn't ready for those changes. So stop putting that pressure on yourself. So, I mean, you've just got to try and be realistic, isn't it, about what you can actually achieve.
yeah, and you become your most happiest self when when like the idea of who you are and who you actually are aligns.
Yeah.
Like if you're like,
Yeah.
I want to be this person, blah blah blah, and then for whatever reason you're not doing that, whether it's laziness, procrastination,
That's in the identity
paralysis.
guide as well. That whole matching up who you want to be versus who you actually are, and how others see you as well can even be a different version. And it's like the closer they all align, the more stable and secure you are as a person. But the amount of times I've hung out with people that are like, even little things like, oh, I don't go on social media. I never go on social media. But then every single post that I see on social media, they've already liked it. And the post's only been live 15 minutes. Well, why are you lying to you? Who are you lying to? Like, I'm not bothered that I go on social media. It's not like I'm sat there going, oh, I don't. And they're trying to live up to it. But they've got this idea of themselves that they want to be, and they're not that person. So no wonder they feel all over the place.
Do you ever find, because you've worked in a pub, right?
Yeah.
Soon as 5 o'clock hits, 4 o'clock, the people start coming from work. Did you ever get this spiel from certain people about how they deserve that pint that day? They might be a bit early, but my God, I've had this today. Oh, and
Yeah.
this and this, and you know what? And I've not actually had a drink since last. And I'm sat there like, I don't care.
Yeah, like I'm not judging you. Like
I'm not a counsellor at this point. I'm just serving you beer. Like
even
drink that and get another one.
even more so since I've got sober, the amount of people that feel the need to tell me that they've not got a problem with alcohol. I'm not even asking that. Like
It's like you've become a nun and everyone's like, oh, around you, like, oh.
they're like, or they're like smoking a fag and drinking beer. Like, oh, I never do this. I never do this. Like, this is the first fag I've had in like 2 weeks or whatever. And I'm like, is it? Like, and half the time I'm like, I saw you smoking like 2 days ago. And I don't actually care. But it's this whole building up an image of who they want to be versus who they actually are.
And that's it, right? You're facing, especially as a sober person, you're facing that you're giving them a mirror, just being like, oh, and it's like, don't look in the mirror, talk to me. It's fine, we can talk. We've still got a load of symptoms that, again,
I mean, we're going to be going through kind of the emotions next week. So
they all kind of tie in.
So emotional, sensory processing and emotional dysregulation is going to come into next week's thing. We covered intrusive thoughts last week because we were saying about how, they are there.
We've also got an email, but I think we leave that till next week as well because we're just going to drag people on. But we have a Patreon draw.
Yes, we do have the draw. Some just quick fire, some tips and advice though, because I've written a few of these down. So
go on then. Go on then, girl.
Yeah, having a kind inner voice definitely helped me. So switching from being, oh, you're such an idiot, to, that was a funny thing to do or whatever, trying to like laugh at myself. That was like, so working on your mindset, absolutely paramount for changing.
Let's do this together.
So mindset and internal dialogue. And on the website, there is booklets for mindset. And that talks a lot about the inner voice. So yeah, that's a really good place to start, is really starting to catch yourself on how you're talking to yourself on the inside. And the other one as well is being realistic about, so I get like this massive list of things that I think I'm going to do in 2 hours. And then when I've only done 4 of them, which are massive jobs, I'll beat myself up over the 6 I've not done. No, you need to start celebrating the ones that you have done. So again, it's just changing that perspective. Like I'd get to the point where I was ignoring all the positive things I've done because I was so focused on all the things I've not done, but actually I'd done loads.
Like, your unconscious bias, if you've got this perspective of like, oh, I'm never getting anything done, then you judge it through that lens. If you judge it by, God, I get so much done every day. Yeah,
you feel so much better. And it just changes everything. green spaces. So actually, this has been scientifically proven that getting out in green spaces for 20 minutes 3 times a week actually makes your ADHD symptoms less prolific or more manageable. So touch gas. But yeah, just it's really hard sometimes because you just think I haven't got time. But again, it's just about changing that perspective. Like, it's only going to be 20 minutes, so have you seriously not got that 20 minutes to do it? It's going to make you feel so much better getting out in them green spaces. Using music as a changing your mood definitely helps me, like putting on songs, even podcasts and stuff as well. Sometimes you just feel a bit lonely. It's like having a podcast on in the background can be really helpful. Listing your gratitudes, that kind of comes a little bit under mindset. But if I'm feeling a bit down, if I just start quick fire in 60 seconds, how many things can I say in 60 seconds that I'm grateful for? From the fact of like having a comfy bed to sleep in, and I don't know, just the smallest things, having running water on tap, having a nice dinner in the oven, all sorts of things. It can change your mindset. Breath work, you can go to workshops to do that, but you can just get it on YouTube and do it for free. And meditation's kind of a similar one, but breath work for me, I think, got me going because you actually get off your nut on it. So if you are it's like, what is it, getting high off your own supply?
Yeah, most definitely.
So if you are a bit of a thrill seeker like me, breath work, breathing with grace,
if you're
is
thinking, what do you want about?
It's hard work, and you breathe and you breathe and you breathe and you breathe, and then you have this like 20 minutes of enjoying the hard work that you've put in, and your mind, you're hallucinating and you're off everywhere. Like, my dead relatives come and visit me. It's brilliant.
And more often not during this super period than
ever
my whole
before.
career.
Yeah, it's brilliant when people kind of try and suggest it must be boring. I'm like, you have no idea.
But if you want to try it in a professional setting, breathing with grace.
Yeah.
I spoke to her during the 12-hour stream, and I'm sure at some point we'll get to connect again because I'd like a.
I'm going to do a breath.
session
I'm going to
with
do
her.
another workshop in September. Me and Kat are going to go. So if you want to book on, do it. And then you can feed back to these lovely people. Another thing that I found recently, having a fire. I don't know if you've got a fire pit at home or whether it's something that you can invest in. But I read somewhere that staring at fire and flames changes the brain waves of your brain into a meditative state. And I don't know, I just find it really calming. So, you know, there's a few kind of getting back to nature things that you could alternate. Cold water therapy, that's something that I'd not written down on my list, but it's just reminded me now. At the end of my shower, turning it down to cold. A weighted blanket, that switches off my busy mind, and it's absolutely amazing.
Why do you have the weighted blanket?
Well,
what does it do?
My friend actually just went, "Oh, try this as a weighted blanket," and put it around my shoulders. And the minute she did, I went, "Oh," like felt like I was going to start drooling. I just felt so relaxed. My brain stopped chatting. So then I invested in one for myself because they are a little bit expensive. But I have it on top of my duvet on my bed, and when I climb under that bed, it's like having a hug. So it's pressure. If anybody likes getting people to lay on top of them for the pressure, that's something that even
I
as
like
a
a
kid,
squeeze.
yeah, then a weighted blanket is definitely something that you would benefit from. So a lot of these are free, but we understand if you're working class people, it's finding the time. That's the thing. It's like people preach, "Oh, well, these things are free." It's like, yeah, but I tell you what's not free, my bills. You know, like, so it's kind of like, don't let people put the guilt on you that you should be doing all of these things. If you've been following us all year, you'll know that as part of a different resolution, we've been picking like one thing a month to try. And then sometimes that ends up wedged in as part of your habits. And then you pick another thing. Sometimes it doesn't. You just choose something else.
It's been a wicked year of trying new things that I definitely wouldn't have done last year without that guide.
Yeah. But exercising, having as clean a diet as possible, trying to, if you do drink heavily like I did, trying to get off alcohol. That was the best thing that I've ever done for my mental health.
Standing your relationship with alcohol.
Definitely. The thing is though, before I'd try and cut down, then I'd feel guilty because I couldn't moderate it and blah blah blah, and then I just quit, and it was just amazing. So and it's, you know, not everybody's going to feel the benefits the way I did, because you're not all going to have brains like mine. So just don't feel guilty about things. You've just got to try and be really positive. So enough of those for now, because like I say, next week we're going to do the basic 5 senses, the week after that anxiety, all of which have got these fabulous guides to go with them. So we're going to keep touching upon these things anyway, especially with the anxiety one, I would have thought.
Most definitely.
Now, the results are in. So those that have seen on my socials, I've put out 3 different front covers for the newer different resolution. And it was really, really close between A and B. And I kind of feel like almost like guilty for like not picking the ones that certain people were saying or whatever. But if I take mine away, because I actually did vote in it, but if I take mine away, it makes it even closer. One of them out of A and B got 13 and one got 12 votes. That's how close it was.
Oh,
So, I mean,
okay.
if you share the screen, it's really, really small because we can't,
Still not signed into my thing.
yeah, we can't get it in because we're not signed in. But between A and B, so the green one and the blue one, there was 1 vote in it. And that's if you take my vote away. So it's like, I've not even swayed it. But the winner is
Got one.
B. The blue one, so it's like a denim effect kind of thing.
I love it. That's the one I was hoping.
Was it?
I love
Oh,
denim.
wicked. To be honest, I was stuck between A and B being I liked all 3. I designed all 3, so obviously I liked all 3. But I was stuck between A and B, and I think B was ultimately my favourite too. So I'm quite pleased that got it. But I also love doing a vote and letting someone else make the decision.
I think it's wicked. Also, it's been like a year of country, isn't it? And I feel like the denim just kind of fits with the whole
Yeah.
design.
So there's loads of names that are in there. I don't know whether can I scroll them down. Well, anyway, you're all on there anyway. That's everybody that got involved with the vote, and one lucky person is going to win a copy of the 2025 A Different Resolution. Because after this, I can go and upload the cover and actually get the copies on the go.
I love that.
So let's tap to spin. Let's see who's going to win. Oh, it's so excited. I love doing these prize draws. Is it going to say it really big? Yeah. Our very own hype girl. We're always talking about Kat. How exciting.
I love that.
There you
That's
go.
awesome.
Kat, you got yourself a free copy. There she is doing her very first session of breath work with me, and she is a massive advocate of breath work now after just
It's a weird like coincidence. I
yeah,
love that.
and just one session she's like, when can we go again? So I think it really blew her mind
Yeah.
what it can actually do for the ADHD brain. It's insane.
That's well good. Congratulations, Kat.
Yeah, congratulations. And I'm looking forward to getting that live. We've both got some little ideas for like adverts and videos to really explain the benefits of
Yes.
a different resolution. Because I mean, although we've shared about it all year, there wasn't a massive take up on it, was there? And I think it's a shame because it's such a good
I
resource.
think your mum made a good point though. We released it too late.
Last year, yeah.
So we need to be releasing it.
Yeah, it's going to be ready hopefully by next week. So
And it's a great Christmas present. Literally, how like no one else is gonna get them it. You know that.
yeah, it'll be a £5 as well. So it's a really good gift price, even if it's like a Secret Santa. You could
That's awesome.
club it up with something else as well, you know, like kind of make it a bit of a self-care package.
Candle, a box of chocolates, a little ADHD guide. I love that. I love the idea of that. I think that's wicked.
In fact, you know what I might do this year? Put some stickers with it, because I love, like, hold your diary up. In fact, I've got my diary here as well. Mine's the same. Look, we're both a bit crazy for making these things our own. So I think, you know, that might be quite cool to put stickers with it, because it's like, that's what it's all about, is making, like, invest in these things, making them feel personal. Hey Anna, she's here.
Ooh, oh my god, yes, stickers.
Yes.
I love stickers.
Definitely, we do love stickers.
Dude, I've got one eye. I can't see shit.
Jade, I love the one eye jokes. And then Peter,
One Eye Joe. Cotton Eye Joe.
Peter's
One-Eye Joe.
Cotton Eye Joe's about an STD.
I learned this.
Yeah.
My
Hey
grandma-
Logan, he's also watching as well, which is weird because so's This sex is on fire. That's also about an STD. Everyone needs to stop having unprotected sex.
Kings of Leon, right?
Yeah.
There's a link here.
But Peter says the best tip for feeling better is wearing one of my products. So
I
get
totally agree.
yourself over to True Vibes Clothing.
I mean,
and,
without saying what the content was, what was the vibe of the text I sent you before I got hit?
she wasn't a very happy
I
lady.
was ready to be out there actually killing someone. But then I came here, I put my top on, I got ready, and I was like,
we always
happy.
feel better after a good chin wag with you lot.
Peter, you've got some awesome. I watched your Q&A post where you were just answering questions from people sat in a field, and it was really cool. I love watching you
so cool.
talk to the camera and seeing all the things that you've got up in store for 2025. And I hope we're included in that, my darling.
Yes,
We're
gonna get together at some point.
let's do some cool stuff.
And I need to order my Inner Monsters t-shirt, the ADHD special one. So there we have it.
There we have it.
Absolutely jam-packed.
We've got a fun little review next week for some earbuds.
Yes, indeed.
Stay tuned. And then on Tuesday next week, we have an interview with. I always get the name of the publishing thing wrong.
Sweet Cherry Publishing.
Sweet Cherry Publishing.
They also have Every Cherry, which Jade shared on her Facebook the other day, saying this publishing house is absolutely wicked. These books are amazing. I was like, mate, we interviewed them a couple of weeks ago. So the synchronicities there are just amazing. Yeah,
I mean,
really
Jade's
cool.
on the pulse anyway. She's
finger on the
what's
pulse.
out there. But yeah, we managed to speak to them and find out how they came about creating these things. And
It's a really wicked interview, actually. I'm looking forward to rewatching it. It feels like it's quite a while ago, doesn't it?
it's a very good one. It's very I enjoyed it. I've been excited to get it out. And the footage does not seem to be cursed. Touching wood, touching all the wood right now.
Brilliant.
Forever sorry to James Hansen.
Next week, though, the basic 5 senses. There's nothing basic about it. I'm so looking forward to that topic. It's one of my most favourite topics in terms of that we are locked into this crazy matrix with these 5 senses.
That is literally going to be the title.
Yeah, excellent.
I need to remember that now. Say it again. What was it?
We are locked into this crazy matrix with these 5 senses. Was that
No,
the...
ain't nothing basic about it.
Oh, ain't nothing basic about it. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for everybody joining us. The chat has been popping off, which I've absolutely loved, and hopefully we've provided some decent advice out there for you. And as always, we've got some more topics to cover from these conversations, including rage and relationships. So always comment if there's something that you want us to cover.
Yes, please
If you've
do.
got any questions, get in touch.
You can email us at adifferentpodcastofficial@gmail.com. Got it right. Or DM us at either of the Instagram podcasts. Instagrams, I meant to say.
Yeah.
Feel like we've been very demure, very mindful.
Who knows?
I just wanted to get it in there because I think it will help the algorithm. You clearly have no idea what I'm talking about. I'll update you next week. Peace out. This is Lindsay.
And this is Steph.
We're a different human design.
And this is a different podcast.
And this is the outro.
Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem, now we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love, we invite it. You don't agree, then